Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Board Game Barbecue podcast. This is Jules, your host here for episode 347. We're getting close to a pretty big milestone, and that is all thanks to Advent Games, More Than Meeples, and our amazing, illustrious, special patrons. We can't thank you enough for all of the support you give us on the show. And with me, I've got some of the bros that we caught up with at PAX very briefly. We've got Adrian. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm fantastic. I didn't get sick or anything like that, which is awesome.
I didn't either.
I know. It's always a bit of a worry when you go to those big things because it's
huge.
Not necessarily COVID or anything, but you might just get a cold on the plane or whatever. And no, nothing. That's a win.
I definitely got very sick after PAX last year, but yeah, you're right. This year, nothing. Although I did get sick a couple of weeks before PAX, so I think I had the immunity build up. So anyway,
yeah.
Connor, you're the other one here. How'd you fare after PAX?
No, I was fine. You forget I work at a school, so
true.
It's just germ city.
It's basically a petri dish.
Yeah. And I work in a science lab too, or like in a science classroom.
Yes.
So it was fine. I was going to say maybe it was like the copious amounts of alcohol I drank, but I didn't drink all that much. It was probably because Adrian didn't come on the Thursday. Yeah, he's nodding. He didn't come on the Thursday night.
I also had Finn with me, and
it's true.
After I've had 4 or 5 cocktails and he has to walk me home, I draw the line at that. So, yeah.
When he's a few years older.
When he can drive, that's when it's going to be really dangerous.
When he can carry me, which might be a while.
It might be a while.
He can take over from me having to carry you everywhere.
Very good. Well, I mean, last episode we had the PAX roundup, which, I mean, I contributed a small amount, but the rest of the crew, including you guys, were there doing that. It was a great time. It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. It was so good. And our role there has changed a little bit. I say role, like we don't have a job there per se, but we started doing the tabletop area and now we get to do media, but it's just the people that you've met and other people you see and people you only see at PAX. Shout out to Sully.
100% shout out to Sully. That's a person I instantly thought of. Do you know what? Like when I first saw him, I was like, "Oh yeah, I know you." Like I forgot because my memory is shocking. And then as soon as I started talking to him, I was like, "I remember this dude, Sully. Oh my god, what a legend! Love this guy. Absolute just super positive, super cool, super awesome. Love that guy."
And we got to play Cheers to the Governor. I talked about that on the episode, so that was good. But yeah, it's so much fun. It's massive. Like it's so big. It's so crazy. The board gaming section, as kind of Joe and we all talked about, has grown. Like sponsorships from eBay. That's just wild. But yeah, I felt like, we got stuck into a lot of things, got to play some video games, all that stuff. So yeah. And probably the one thing it was missing, I think, in the past, they've had a big release there, so a big board game release. So I think 2 years ago it was Apiary.
Yes.
That was the Stonewall game. That was it.
Last year it was Dead Cells. I feel like that was. I mean, it delivered to Kickstarter backers, but in terms of retail, that was the big one. There just wasn't one there this year. Yeah. I reckon if they could have swung at Jules, and I don't know whether, but if Riftbound had been able to be purchased, I mean, yeah,
I know, yeah. Look, we did ask those questions, but no to that, and there is a new Stonemaier game releasing in the next week or so called Origin Story. I did ask if we could have that. They're like, nah, it's an Essen release. So like, But there were plenty of games I was like trying to get there for a release that were exciting, but you're right. There just really wasn't anything super standout. Although from my perspective in the work doing PAX, there was a game that 12 Rivers did quite well.
Yes, I could imagine
but also
that, yeah.
T-Witches from the Op. Was very popular. We sold all the copies of T-Witches there, which is kind of cool. But yeah, there wasn't a massive, huge standout thing like you mentioned the past 2 years. But that partly comes with the territory of PAX dates not quite lining up close enough to Essen.
Isn't that a funny thing? Because there was a massive rave at Gen Con for 12 Rivers, right? Like massive queues, sold out. I wonder if it's just because PAX still has that sort of tilted towards video gamer vibe, and I'm definitely tilted towards sort of cosplay, anime, TCG. I wonder if it's that sort of didn't make that game just go, as insane as Gen Con.
Yes, that's definitely a factor, but I will say we did a lot of pre-marketing towards Gen Con. Didn't do as much for PAX itself, but you're right. It's a very mixed hybrid audience that attend that show. So I know a lot of the local board gamers in Melbourne attend PAX, but I think that number drops off significantly for people traveling interstate purely for the board game stuff. I mean, you guys, we go because we've got media passes and etc. But I think there's a very steep drop off.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree.
I mean, you might know how the numbers compare, Jules, in terms of things like Origin or Gen Con. And then the numbers that go there, and then the numbers of our PAX, that you're right, not every individual that goes to PAX comes through and looks through the board game section or is interested in board games. Whereas when you've got Gen Con, that's purely board game, card game, and whatever, however, that whole family of games, whatever that is, that's what it's there for. So everyone there is there for that. But
it's still huge though. Like it still grows. Like when we sit in that hall on the Saturday, it is completely chockers full with people playing board games in that board game area. I know that it's broken up with the free play PCs and the Xbox and the PlayStation stuff, and there's a bit of other, some other stuff going on, the paint and take and Magic the Gathering and things like that. But yeah, I think that there's still enough of a board gamer market there playing games and enjoying them. But yeah, it's just because it's not solely that, it is a bit different. So
yeah. Well, shall we talk about some board games we've been playing? Connor, you've got quite the list.
Yeah, well, I just had a massive run of playing games that I hadn't for a long time. So, I'll probably just shoot through a couple of these. One I'll talk about is one we did play at PAX, and I can't remember if we mentioned it, and it was the game that we got to play with my brother, Up and Down. So the game about elevators, and you might be thinking,
I think I've played this.
You might be going, elevators, like seriously. It was like, yeah, okay, but it makes sense because why this game is so good is because your aim is to get these cards either going in ascending or descending order, and you want to try and get the same color, but it's not super important in terms of you can still win by not having the same color, but you can only have 3. What's great though is you get the cards by playing a card. So the card you play the card, and you need to take one of the cards that you play from either side. Now, Jules, this was reminding me of something else, and the crew that we were playing with wasn't very helpful in terms of, it reminds me of a game. It's like, what do you mean, idiot? But what other game can you think of that has that mechanism of you play and then take something either side?
Anything off the top of your head? Nothing comes to my mind off the top of my head, but I have played Up and Down, and what's that
one that we played? No, we did play that one at mine, Jules, where it's like the card game made by Pandasaurus. It's a skinny long box. Courtesans, is that similar? Where you take one and then you get one from someone else? And then
Courtesans is you get 3 cards. You have to put one in the middle, give one to an opponent, and one to yourself. That's different, but yeah, nothing comes to mind, but yeah, continue. Up and Down. I found it was a good game. I really enjoyed it, but there's just like so many moments of please don't take that card. Please don't take that card. Or someone plays a number and it changes where you were going to place, and now suddenly the option you wanted to choose is out of reach because you don't have a card to get it.
And I think Jace was to my right, so obviously playing in clockwise order.
Yes.
And maybe it was Jace, or maybe it was Carl. I can't remember. But one of them, I was just like, and every time would nearly get around to me and they would take it. I was like, God. But I guess it's somewhat punishing, but not overly, because if you can't play a card, you have to collapse your row. And the thing is you must choose whether your elevator is going up or it's going down. So you need to make sure that you choose the right way. And I guess like lots of people would ideally probably start in the middle because they're like, well, I don't know what's coming up. But my thinking afterwards is that I would say maybe commit, like get a card, like get a low card early and then commit to going up or commit to go down. And then just not forego, but have a look at the colors because, so anyway, the colors are important because it multiplies your number of cards by your greatest color. So if you have 4 yellow cards and then you've got 6 cards in the stack, you get 24 points. So something like that. But yeah, really cool. It's on BGA, I'm pretty sure. I think it's
really?
on BGA, yeah. Or it's on some, maybe it was a TTS.
I don't know.
I was talking to someone about it who was playing online and they're like, yeah, it's great. It's so good. So yeah, Up and Down was really fun game.
Yeah, it's good.
And it's Capstone, which is kind of weird because they're moving into those smaller box games when they'd made big ones. So yeah, that was just a cool game to play with lots of people.
Very cool. Adrian, what have you been playing?
Oh man, I'm not going to lie. I've been playing a lot of Riftbound and I'll get to that in a bit. But just a couple of things. One, just a bunch of people reached out to me throughout the week just saying like, lovely to hear Finn on the pod. And also some people publicly posted that was really cool. And massive. Like I said on the pod itself, thank you to everybody that gave him time and looked after him for 5 or 10 minutes when I had to go do some media work or whatever. But yeah, it was really nice to get those kind words in about Finn. Megs came and visited and we went out for dinner with Lauren, myself, Megs, her partner, MJ, Finn on a wing night Wednesday. I got a jug of cocktail to myself. It's one of my favorite things to do because they come to the table and give 4 glasses and I just slide 3 of them back. And I always like that. It's always like, this is for me.
It's a big power move.
It's a massive power move. This bright pink, fluffy looking cocktail. And I love every second of it. So there was that. But I got to play a prototype game that Meg's brought round by a local designer in Sydney. And it's called I Am the Captain Now. And it's kind of like Liar's Dice with tags on cards almost, and you sort of, it's really clever. I really enjoyed it. There's a bit of bluffing in it and a little bit of sort of hidden knowledge, and essentially you can join the captain, whoever the person is that sort of makes the sort of confirmed bid, or you can basically mutiny and go against the captain, which is going against the person's bid, saying that they won't get this bid. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was really fun. It was really chilled. It was a great game, and it plays up to like 6 players, which is always nice. I really enjoy games that go to 6 and play well at 6. It's not like, oh, we've made it go to 6, therefore, high society could go to 6, but it probably wouldn't be as tight or as interesting. That having that 5 really, really works well. So yeah, I played that, thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope he gets it published somewhere because I think it could be a really fun game at it's not a party game, but it's not a super heavy game either. But there is a bit of strategy and thought behind it, and a little bit of sort of bluffing and manipulation and sort of trying to get people to overbid when kind of like in high society where you're making people pay for stuff more than they should, but they're so locked in that they're making them silly bids. And yeah, it was great. It was really cool. Really enjoyed that.
Very cool. Yeah. Oh, I've been playing a bunch of all play titles that I mentioned a few episodes ago. They sent some review stuff, so I've been hitting that on the table. The first one I'll mention is one called Money. So this is an old Reiner Knizia game that's been reprinted from 1999, and it probably fits in the wheelhouse you were just talking about, Adrian. It's that sort of high society level of strategy, and probably takes about that time as well. But Money's a really simple game. So you have 2 markets of 4 cards, and you have different sets of currencies depending on the player count, and you deal out 4 cards in 2 different markets on separate sides of a board. And basically all you do is you'll get dealt 6 cards at the start of the game, and you use that money to bid, to have first pick of what's available. So when everyone picks the money they want to bid with, put it face down and reveal, highest goes first. Now your options are, you can take either all the cards in market 1 or market 2, which I said there's 4 in each, and that's just randomly dealt from the whole deck of cards. Or you can actually take the bidding money cards that someone else has put on the table in order to try and get those market cards. And all you're trying to do is set collection in the game. So you're trying to collect as much money of each currency denomination as you can, because it has an interesting way in which everything scores at the end of the game. If the total amount of one set or one currency type exceeds 200, then you just score all the points that it's worth. If it's between 110 and 190, you score it all and then deduct 100. So if I had $180 worth of a currency, I only score 80 points. And if you score 100 or under, you score nothing for it. So you're really trying to collect as much as you can of particular sets. There is also the layer of scoring triplets. So each set has 3 20s, 3 30s, a 40 and a 50 and a 60 from memory. So if you manage to get 3 of a kind in a denomination, you might not score any points for them because you haven't exceeded that 100 total, but you get to score a bonus $100 for having 3 of a kind. And then there's also gold and silver in there, which always just score their value. You don't need to have a threshold to score them, but you can also score that triplet bonus off of those. And it gave me vibes of Billionaire, if you've ever played that. It's a really old card game where you're trying to set collect. It doesn't have that frantic real-time element to it, but you're bidding with the money that you're going to use to score at the end of the game to try and take other cards available. But then what you take, you're trying to keep, but you've got to spend to be able to get first pick of new cards that come out. So it has tension the whole way along. I've played it at 3 players. I think it would be even better at 5, which is its max player count. There'd just be more things on the table, more options to pick from. And I think what I really love that's clever about that game is the fact that it's all what you're trying to get value out of. Say, I'm putting 2 cards on the table, but I'm trying to take a roll of 4. You're trying to maximize your card value, right? But someone else might bid with something that you're really looking for because it completes a set. So you actually decide, no, I'm swapping cards with you. It's simple, it's good, it plays in 20 minutes or so, it doesn't take long at all, and it was just solid. So money was really, really good.
Everyone likes money. If you don't like money, you're lying to yourself. Whether people like this game or not is another issue.
I like spending money.
Me too, yeah. That's a really good point. I don't like money sitting in an account. I like spending it. That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a bit like people like, I'm not afraid of heights, I'm afraid of falling. It's like, I don't like money, I like spending. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll mention the other one I've played in the past week, which is another all-play game called Merchants of Andromeda.
See, this is the one I almost backed and the one I'm really interested to know if it's actually any good.
I enjoyed it. So this game looked overwhelming on the table. There are so many different things. There's a lot of artwork, but it was actually crazy simple. So it's a game where you have 5 different mini boards. It's like 5 different mini games going on, and they're pretty simple. But on your turn, you're just trying to collect the most points to win the game. But there's a whole deck of cards, and when you go through the whole deck, that ends the game. But you get 3 cards on your turn, but you resolve one at a time. So you flip one, and you've got an action board. You've got one where it says resource, and then you've got influence and auction. So you flip a card off the top, and every card has an action and a resource on it. So you got to decide, am I going to auction this card off? Am I going to claim the resource on the card, or am I going to take the action on the card? So you might just flip a card and go, okay, I want to take that resource, so I slot it on that board spot. Then you flip the next card, and then you go, actually, I'm going to auction that one, flip the third, okay, cool, that's my action. And then you just resolve the 3. You collect your resource, you take your action on one of those mini boards, and then you auction the other card. It's actually, most money at the end of the game wins, not points. Because this is really important. When you auction the card, you get, if whoever wins it gets to take both the action and the resource. But because it's most money wins, you don't want to bid super crazy because you're literally spending your endgame victory points. And obviously you get great value out of paying to take 2 things.
Spend money to make money, bro.
It's a spend money to make money, exactly, because there's an event track for the whole game that also times it. So with that deck of cards I was talking about, you go through to end the game, it's sort of randomly got event cards seeded through it that just progresses a token along the board where you score each of those 5 boards a few times throughout the game, and then the very last spot where you end the game, you score all 5 again. And those events, some of them are special events where it gives you options. It might say collect $5, or you can spend money to do this thing. So it's very much a game of spend money to make make money. But I think one of the things that people may or may not like about the game is it is really, really hard to tell who's winning.
Yep.
Because there's so many different mini boards. Some people might be doing better on one and not so great on another. And the pile of money that you have is public, but because you're constantly bidding on things, it's kind of hard to tell how much money people have. So it's kind of one of those games you don't really know who's won until the end. So it's kind of hard to have those moments where you go, let's work together. You can't let so-and-so win this card because it's really, really tricky. It's not a long game. You could play it in an hour or less. But I've talked about games before like Concordia. It's one of the things I didn't love about it is it's impossible to know who's actually winning because the scoring is so
or to know if you're doing any good. Like you think, I'm playing a great game and you end up on the bottom of the pile.
Exactly. So it's a game I really enjoyed, although having played it the once, I had a fantastic time. But when I thought about it, I'm like, do I want to play this again? I'm like, I don't really know. I feel like I kind of saw everything the game had to offer.
Okay.
Those mini games won't change. One of them's literally just a resource track that goes further, but you hit certain thresholds where if all your markers hit a certain level, you get to do a free action on another board where you put an influence marker. There's one that it just has random tiles face down. You're exploring planets and get to flip them over and push your luck because you get to collect 2 unless you hit an invader, which is like a little alien. Then you only get to take 1. So the more you flip, the more options you got to choose from, but you might only get 1 instead of 2. Yeah, it's a really good game. It's beautiful. It's well produced. Maybe the mini expansion that they sent with it will change things up a little bit. It looks like it interacts with one of the mini boards, which is a vote. So there's like these little voting boxes. You drop your influence tokens, a ballot box. There's 3 little ballot boxes you have to construct in the game, which looks really cool. You're secretly voting, or not secretly, but you're voting throughout the game until you hit the trigger where you resolve the scoring for that board and reveal the votes. And it has rules or actions that can change the game.
Oh, that's cool.
So it might change the scoring of a certain board at the end of the game, or it might have an instant effect where one of them was whoever has the lowest amount of each of the resource types gets a resource. So the votes that you're casting start to influence little things on that board. There was a defense board where aliens are invading, kind of like Space Invaders. The ships are coming down and you're adding influence tokens to go up the track they're on and try and land on the ship to take it and claim it. So you get points if you've claimed a bunch of ships, but you lose money if you haven't been contributing and collecting alien ships and destroying them. So yeah, it's a really easy game where it's literally 3 cards, allocate them to resource, influence, or auction. You do that, done, next person's turn. It was kind of cool, though, that there's a little companion app that Allplay have. So if you download the Allplay app, some of their games use a little companion one, and it's literally just a timer, but it was kind of cool. You don't need it. You can just set a 20-second timer on your phone because the Auctions has a 20-second timer. So it keeps the game moving along, but how the app works is everyone puts their finger down and holds like Chwazi, and it counts down. It goes 20, 19, 18. It's the first person to pull their finger off then pays that amount. So you kind of like Texas show that's actually like a hold standoff, like am I going to pull first? And there was definitely a few moments in the game where it's like 2 people went to pull off and it's like, no, you did it a millisecond faster. So that's kind of a fun element. So,
that is that does sound like
a
nice little addition to the game.
I really liked that auction mechanic where everyone holds the finger down. It's first to pull off pays. It's the bid that just goes lower and lower and lower. And you're trying to get that max value, but you're also not wanting to let someone else get it. So I really enjoyed Merchants of Andromeda. I'm not really sure what else it has to offer. I would absolutely play it again, but it kind of felt like it showed all its tricks in the first play, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does add a layer of tension with that element of bidding, but how long that lasts would be
there would definitely. I played it at 3 players. It does go higher. I think there were some auctions where it was like, well, I know I just don't want this card, so I'm just holding my finger down and someone else will pull it off. Like it's just, there were some dud auctions, but there were definitely plenty of auctions where everyone was like, okay, I'm waiting. I want it to go lower, but I really want it. When's the right time to go? So, yeah. Merchants of Andromeda, really enjoyed it, would play it again, but maybe it doesn't have the longevity that a lot of games have for me.
But I think some people would like that potentially in one play you see everything.
Yeah.
So that you can start to strategize or be like, oh, well, I know that's coming up or I know that's a possibility. And especially with those, I can see like with that event track, those events are clearly not going to change, right? Like it's always events.
Yeah.
So
they're fixed. There's 3 special events that get randomized because there's cards you put on, but everything else is fixed. So there's definitely an element of, okay, I'm timing prioritizing this board because the scoring is coming up soon for it.
Yeah.
But you don't know when because it's the event cards that push it along randomly. So,
yeah,
there's a lot of randomness in the game, but it feels like you've got some control. There's moments where you don't feel like you've got control. But Conor, you've got more to talk about.
Well, yeah. Look, there was just a couple more that I want to talk about. I got to play with my family cities. So that's Phil Walker Harding's game about making a city. No surprises. And this is, so it's interesting, right? Because the way this game works, it's effectively an action spot. So you place a worker down to take an action. However, if you're playing with 2 players, you can only take the same action twice. If you're playing with any more than 2 players, you can only ever take the action or one particular action in a turn once. So it makes it a little bit interesting. Initially, I was like, ooh, I don't know if I like this. But on further playing and thinking again, I actually think it streamlines it quite a lot. And it stops a lot of the analysis paralysis that can happen. And if you played this game and you didn't have that, then it'd be not great, because what you're doing is there's a group of different actions that you can take. And I wouldn't call it drafting, right? Because you're not passing them around or whatever. But if you want to call it drafting, that's fine. So you've got effectively like the mission or the scoring cards. You have more tiles to put out on your city, so to place things on. And then you have the landmarks as well. And then the houses or the buildings that you can take as well. So the mission cards you score based on the different formations or colors of houses or buildings in your city. For example, it might be like you score 2 points for every green building that's 3 tall, because you can stack the little houses or the buildings on top of each other. You might score points for every 1 point for every yellow building within your city, and so on and so forth. And the thing is that these cities can only be placed, or these buildings, can only be placed on the specific coloured sections. There's a grey landmark that you can get and place that down, and that makes it wild. But aside from that, you're going to make sure that you're trying to place them on the specific locations. So the missions or the scoring cards is the top one. Then you've got the actual tiles that add to your city. So this is why there has to be a cap on the number of locations you can go to per turn, because you could imagine that like the first player in each round would just go to that location twice and just make sure that they've taken all the tiles, and the other person's city would be really small. So, it always ends up being a 3x3 grid. So you have 9 squares in there, or 9 of the squares in there. You start off with 1, and then it goes for 8 rounds. So you're going to do that action 8 times. And again, what this does is it actually makes the decision easy for you in a way, and it means that you can lean into other choices, because if you're 3rd or 4th in turn and 3 people go to a particular action before you, you know that you can only take that one. So you're better off going somewhere else and making sure that, hey, I can take this one now and I can get the better mission card, or I can get the better landmark tiles, or I can get the better houses, because you know that in that line to claim the tiles, you can only take that one particular one. So that's cool as well. The landmark tiles, that there's ones that just score normally, just score for like 2 points. And then there's a set collection as well. So the rarer it's not the rarity, but there's not an even number of the landmarks throughout the game. So there might be some landmarks where there's only 3. There might be some landmarks where there's 4 and then 5. So you got to make sure that if that one's there, that's only 3, that you go and grab them. And what you do is your parklands and your waterways, they will score for each unique landmark in those sections. So you're trying to make these smaller groups of parklands and of waterways, but there are some of those mission cards that reward you for having a bigger waterways or a water mass or a bigger parkland. So you're tossing up between this. Like, do I want smaller ones so that I can fit more? Or do I want to have a bigger one, bigger parklands, bigger waterways so that I can score that? And then there's the houses. So the houses are green, blue, yellow, and red, and you can stack those houses on top of each other. This actually comes up as interesting because we do a question of the pod, and the question that was suggested by us, and we'll go into this into more, was what rules were you playing incorrectly? And I had to just double check because we were like, surely you don't have to place this. Surely you don't have to, because sometimes you only want to make your blue buildings too tall because it will ruin your scoring otherwise. And I went back and checked and said, oh no, it says that you may place them, or if you don't want them, you just discard them. So, which I think is fair because it's not a super punishing game. It is great. I really liked it. I played it with my sister, with her 2 kids, so Audrey and Elsie. So Audrey's 13, Elsie's 10. So it really hit the spot for that. There was a bit of like, not hate drafting, but there is, like similar to Lords of Waterdeep and other games, there is a section that gives you the first player marker. So if you were just like, oh, I want to make sure that I have the best option going forward, I'm going to take the first player marker. There kind of was like a competition between Audrey and my sister between who was going to take it. And then they sat either side of me. So I was like, well, I don't want Audrey taking it because that means I'm last. I want Megan taking it because it means I'm second, and I don't want to take it. So yeah, really cool. I very much enjoyed it. I did play it 2 players before, and I think I prefer it with 4. 2 players does give you a bit of variety, but I think just having more people there, you get through more stuff. You probably see a bit more, and there's a bit more of that competition for the mission cards as well. The mission cards are a bit like, oh, I'm just taking this now because it's my only option. The mission cards can be a little bit naff because you're like, I'm just taking this mission card and I'm not going to do it. There's an option to take a random one from the top of the deck, which is fine. But again, you don't know, like, you might strike lucky and be like, oh, I've already done this one. That's great. That's some free points for me. Or I'm partway through. I'm already building towards this. Or it's one I've already got, so I get double the points. So there's double ups. They're not all unique. There's very similar ones. So, yeah, if you're looking for a really cruisy, I guess, tile layer and then some snappy decisions, it played in under an hour once we got through, and I just sort of clarified the rules and things like that. So, yeah, snappy, really good. It's Phil Walker Harding, so you probably know what you're getting, and I mean that in the most positive way. But, yeah, that was Cities, and give it a go if you're into that type of stuff.
Very cool. Yeah, I picked this up for the library at Gen Con a year ago, and I still haven't got around to playing it. I don't even know where the copy is. It's probably in one of the libraries, because I picked up that and Rock Hard at the same time. It was published by Devere. But yeah, sounds really good. It was certainly had a ton of hype at Gen Con last year for it. There were queues of people getting Rock Hard and Cities, which was really cool to see. But yeah, I'll have to try it sometime. Well, let's go on to some sizzles. I might do mine first because it will be very quick. And of all the games that All Play sent for review, this one I'd heard about, and I just was like, why not? I'll request it. If they send it, cool. If they don't, whatever. I'll give it a go. But I've actually really enjoyed it, and that is Slambo. So it's a tiny box game that All Play produce. It's very small. It's almost like an Oink-sized box. And it can play 2, 3, or 4 player. The rulebook does say it's typically a 2-player game, but I think it's actually quite good at 3. I haven't tried it at 4 yet. But Slambo, you're playing as sumo wrestlers, and you're trying to win bouts, and the first person to lose 3 bouts loses the game. And all the game is a very small deck of cards. You start with a number 5 card in the middle. You shuffle up the rest of the cards and deal them between each player. And in a 2-player game, there'll be 3 cards not in play. So you don't quite know what cards are going to be in action between the 2 opponents. And all you're doing is playing one card after another, and you're trying to keep the total between the numbers 0 and 10. So the card that starts as a 5 in the middle, if I play a 5, I add or subtract that number from the previous card. So there are blue cards which add a number and red cards which subtract. It says -4 or -5, whatever. So going through an example, if the card in the middle starts as 5, I say, I play a 5, I'll yell out 10. Then the next player plays a -4 and they'll say 6. And then I might add a 3 and I'll say 9. And we keep going back and forth until one person is forced to go below 0 or above 10. And if both players manage to get rid of all their cards and neither person has been forced below or above 10, then you add a second shame card. So the stakes just become higher for the next round. So again, it's first to 3 shame cards loses. So it just makes it higher stakes. And that's all there is to the game. It's just playing number cards one after the other, trying to not go below 0 or above 10. And that's for normal rules. If you want to up the ante, you flip over the card and you can't go below 1 or above 9. Landing on those numbers is okay. You just can't go above or below. And I've played it a few times now, and it's just one of those super quick, light, do you just feel like playing a game for 20 minutes type games where you go multiple games and kind of more fun than it has right to be for the components and the simple rule set. Because when I read the rules, I was like, oh, is that it? That's the whole game. And you play it like, actually, this is just kind of fun, just going back and forth. I haven't quite figured out the strategy in the game after multiple plays now, but I think if you're any good at card counting, you would be really good at this game. And then it becomes a bit of prediction. It definitely becomes a bit of prediction of what cards could my opponent have, because like I said, there's always a few not in play, so you don't have perfect knowledge, but you're trying to deduce, okay, I know what cards I have. I know some of the cards they've played. I think they're left with only minus cards right now. So if I push the number lower, they might get into a spot of trouble. And I think it actually simulates well that back and forth struggle of two sumos shifting their weight back and forth as the numbers go back and forth, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Slambo is just a very small card game. It was super quick to learn. It kind of fun just to play back to back. And yeah, enjoyed it more than I thought I would.
Or play Mr. Trick, man. Could have had this at PAX, people wearing sumo suits and actually having to do like, oh, I'm pushing you further because I played the blue card. Oh, yes. No, push it back. I played the red. Yep.
Yes.
Me and Ada would have done that for sure.
The sumo card game that I played was just called Sumo, Jules. It's a 2-player only Japanese game. It was really good. I got it when I got Ps. The cards are like the micro cards, like tiny. There you go. That sounds good.
All right, Connor, do you want to talk about your sizzle?
Oh, mine, because I think Adrian's going to do a deaf arcs type.
Well, I'm just going to say I have been quite distracted for the past 11 minutes because there's a mozzie in here the size of a Chinook helicopter, and it will not leave me alone. And I can't smack it because the clap will come out on the microphone. So I'm like rushing to mute my mic, then I'm slapping this thing, then I'm unmuting and then talking, and I can see it. It's around. I'm not giving up on it.
You got to Mr. Miyagi catch it in midair
with your chopsticks.
I tried that.
Hey, it still doesn't beat Sarah and the Wasp. I think
that's classic.
So I was just perusing along GameFound one day, and I don't back stuff as nearly as much as I used to. I think I've learnt, at least for the time being, that lots of these games just don't get played, or they get played so late that I have another game sort of hanging there. But I saw that there was a expansion and another campaign of a game called Leviathan Wilds. And this game just absolutely appealed to me. So as with a lot of things in my life, I like to refer back to video games. So I don't know if either of you are familiar with the game Shadow of the Colossus. So
I do know this is a PlayStation game.
PlayStation 2. I want to say.
Yeah. Reminds me of Oki or whatever it was, like those vibes. Yeah.
So in Shadow of the Colossus, you play as a warrior who has to scale these colossi and defeat them, and they've all got different weaknesses or whatever. And it's incredible. It's like one of the defining games of the generation that it came out. So when I saw this game, Leviathan Wilds, I was like, oh my God, this is like Shadow of the Colossus, but bite-sized. Probably when I say more appealing artwork, I say it's more appealing for probably its demographic, which I would say but like probably, would appeal to kids a little bit more. And it's played on one of those spiral bound books.
Yes.
So if you've ever played Ryan Lockett, trying to think of the Ryan Lockett games. It's like, does Above and Below have that? Or one of his games has that. I know Jaws of the Lion definitely has it. So, Jaws of the Lion. And then I know Cephalofair has then released some of their Gloomhaven and Frosthaven as the books too. So that's great. But so you open it up, and what you have is these Leviathans. I nearly called them Colossus. You have these Leviathans. And these Leviathans are normally peaceful creatures, huge peaceful creatures. But they are infected with these crystals, these blight crystals. And it is your job as the climbers to scale up these colossal creatures called Leviathans, and I did it again, these Leviathans, to shatter all of these blight crystals. And to do this, you pick a character who has some specific cards, and then you pick a class which has some specific cards. And if you've ever played all these archetypal classes as well, but there's quite a few. So there's like a medic, and then there's a brawler, and then there's ones that can fly a little bit, and so on and so forth. So, but the actual way that you play it is pretty cool because each card has a dual use. So you're either playing it for the action points, in which you take various actions such as attacking the crystal, jumping, moving, gliding, recovering, or you're playing it for the card power. So as with a lot of these games, it's like the ones that have the best action points also have some of the better powers, so you need to choose, or you might have a bit more of a low key turn and then use more of the powers. So the powers are effectively free actions that might augment an action that you're going to take. It might be something like you're going to heal a teammate or something along those lines. But the actions is effectively how you get rid of how you move up the Leviathan, and how you destroy these blight crystals. Now, that's on your turn. So you play a card, and then you always play one card. However, you may play as many cards as you want out of your hand, but your hand is also what's called your grip. And when you lose all of the cards out of your hand, you lose grip. And that means that you fall to the next platform, and you take damage based on the different icons that you pass through. Is very, very, very clever. You can also fall for free if you want. And this was the cool thing, is that me and Elsie played it together. This was 2-player. We were bouncing about, moving up, and then we were dropping, and you can also glide. So you can glide down and glide to a different position. You can glide and then grip onto something, but you can't grip if you have no cards in your hand. You can recover as well. So it's that whole cycling thing of, I'll play this card, then I'll recover, and then I'll give you this card back. Or maybe you might play a card, and that means that from your discard pile, a card will go back to your grip, which means that you're going to draw it next turn. It's very, very, very clever. The actual premise and the way the game plays in terms of the turn structure is very simple. And the actions that you take are very simple, but that's because the complexity and the joy and the style that you play in is based on the combination of your character and their class. So it's fantastic. It's really, really good. It came with a expansion too that I haven't busted out yet. So that's some more Leviathans and I think a new climber and maybe some new classes. But
it does sound a lot like Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, it's so good. The other cool thing is that the climbers that you have the characters represented by these unique meeples that have the outline of the character screen printed on there. And they're really cool. I quite like them. But yeah, it's really fun. Like I said, me and Elsie, it was a cooperative game. Mind you, it's cooperative. So me and Elsie were able to work together. We kind of just put our cards out and said, all right, so let's work together and work out what you're going to do, what I'm going to do. Another cool thing that happens is that because these Leviathans are infected with this blight, they will have a turn. And then what happens is, depending on how far the game's progressed, it will shift one of their actions to being like an infected action, which is way worse. But those actions are never the same, because what happens is that once you run through the 5 actions of the Leviathan, you grab them up again, shuffle them, and then you deal them out in a different order. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because maybe if it's a Leviathan, maybe they'll take an action that's less powerful, and then who knows, they're more effective, so they take another action that's more powerful the next turn, so on and so forth. So if you're into cooperative games or into solo games, I would strongly suggest picking this up. Unfortunately, I don't believe it's at retail, but I'd be really surprised if they don't relaunch with a Leviathan Wilds 2 or something like that, because it's really, really, really good. Jules, you were nodding along. I don't know if you're nodding along in like, oh, I'd love this game, or what's the go?
I have played it once and really enjoyed it. I'm not normally a cooperative gamer, as a lot of people know, but this was very, very fun. It's a big puzzle space, and there's so many little decisions to make along the way, and you've got, like you said, that escalation of the actions getting worse from the Leviathan as you go along in the game. So there's a bit of a timer element because it just gets more difficult and brutal. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Would play it again, the drop of a hat, absolutely. So yeah, highly recommend that game if you're into co-ops at all. Really fun.
And there's so much variety with the climbers,
heaps.
And it's so good. It's so good.
Well, that's what you want from something like that, right? You want that, like peak variety, so you can, really sort of delve into different things.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. So that was Leviathan Wilds. All right, I think it's time for us to go on to our last sizzle from Adrian. I'll put out a PSA. If you are at all into a certain IP that we are going to talk about very shortly and have an addiction to trading card games, maybe you should skip this segment. Yeah. And with that warning, take it away, Adrian.
Yeah, so I've played a few of these TCGs over the years. I've never got into them. So as an example, played Magic the Gathering a few times, especially when I was younger. I used to go to the midnight box openings with friends. We'd go for beers. We'd go to the midnight thing. I'd bust packs. I'd get stomped in the first game, and that would be me done. And I'd never really collect them. Like, I enjoyed it. And you know what? When I'd finish, I'd give my cards to my friends and be like, hey, just divvy them up and, do whatever you want with them, because they were way more into it than I was. And then I played Lorcana. I was lucky enough that someone sent me some early copies of that from the UK, and I really loved it, and Finn really enjoyed it, but he was a bit young to sort of get into that kind of thing. He played the game, enjoyed the game. We played it a lot, actually, back to back, but I never was at the sort of position where I was like, oh, I need to buy more of these cards and build my own deck and do all this kind of stuff. So for this game, Riftbound, which is based on the League of Legends IP, and it's definitely sort of derived a lot of its art forms from Arcane itself, especially on the sort of videos and stuff that you see for the trailers and that. And the video game, massive success. Arcane, huge success. So they sort of built this card game system, TCG, this sort of collectible card game. And this is the first time where I've bought like a base box and a bunch of booster packs and another deck that's a separate character, because Finn is totally into it. So, we've played 28 games since PAX. So I don't even remember. Yeah. And that's 3 rounds. So a game consists of 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
So my current win rate is 7.14%.
Oh my
Giving that out there. So I've won 2 games of the 28 total.
Oh my goodness.
That Jigs deck, I feel, is broken, right? He has a distinct advantage. So I need to buy more cards to create a deck that will just stomp him and put it back on an even playing field. So yeah, maybe it's pay to win. Who knows? I'm probably just terrible. But I've really enjoyed it. And I mean, the day we got home from PAX, Finn was absolutely cooked. But with his breakfast, he was watching how to play Riftbound videos, how to create your own deck videos. And when he's that enthusiastic about something, I'm very happy to support that and go down there. I mean, he does it with video games, with games like Path of Exile and even Overwatch. He'll look at Overwatch strategies and watch how to play a certain hero a certain way and learn from that. So when he's into something, I'm very happy to sort of get into it with him. And it's a game that I thoroughly enjoy. I really enjoy this one. I think this is the one for me because you are fighting. So you do attack each other, but the game has in a 2-player game, which is how we play it head to head. Essentially, there's 2 different battlefields that sit in front of you, and you're kind of vying for control of these battlefields and try and hold them as long as you can. Now, those battlefields, they all come with different abilities. So some of them benefit certain players and certain decks in certain ways. We have played it where we shuffle and randomize each other's battlefields and place them out. We have played it where we've selected our own battlefields. That was my suggestion because I was getting trounced so hard. I was like, I need to pick a battlefield. This is just wrong. Like, I'm doing something wrong. But I can tell you now that it feels not like a Euro, but I suppose Magic the Gathering and all these other games have this. You are trying to eke out every last little mathematical ounce of runes and exhausting of stuff and getting stuff out on that table to win these games. Like, it is definitely incredibly thinky. So I think Lorcana, when it first came out, was still great and still super interesting, but this one just has another layer of having to think and having forethought of what's actually happening. And obviously this is the base game, right? This is the original starting point for this game. And it already doesn't have complex moves in it, but it definitely has moves in it where you have to worry about what the other player might do to you, and you have to be really aware of that. And for me, the whole tapping of cards and having to track everything and math it all out, there have been a few times where I've played a card and forgotten to do a certain thing because that card played, and then I've lost. And I'm like, hang on, if I'd have done this, and then I would have tapped that, I would have got another thing out, and then I would have been able to do this, and I would have won. You really have to be mindful. And Finn's just a monster, if I'm honest. He's just a little demon boy.
Me, yeah. I mean, I played against him. He was the one I played against first, and then when I think you had to go off. Maybe you had to grab something for somewhere else, or maybe you went to talk to one of the executives somewhere. He's like, "Do you want to play?" He goes, "Do you want to play League of Legends?" And I was like, "What? In the free play area?" He's like, "No, the card game." I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, no," because we had played against it, and he just smoked me and he'd only been playing it. We only played like 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see it. So I have played a lot of these trading card games, whether it be Magic, whether it be things like Duel Masters. I don't know, Jules, if you remember Duel Masters. It's sort of,
I do.
So Flesh and Blood and tried a lot of these games. My issue with these games and how they compete with what's referred to as the big 3 is that if they're going to have enough depth early to hook people in, and I think that they have. I think it does with Riftbound. It's definitely there. It's interesting that, and I totally understand why they've gone this way. I know they've got the battlefields. I know you can push into different battlefields or whatever, but it's interesting that they haven't gone for a lane-based games, because like League of Legends, you push the lane to your opponent's base. There's none of that. It's just, hey, we're fighting on a battlefield. So for me, it almost feels like they went and almost thought up a video game first that they use a League of Legends IP in, and then went, well, actually, this actually makes sense for it to be a card game. And so they now made it a card game, because it doesn't – the characters are there. The characters are thematic. They feel like the characters from the show and from the game, but it doesn't feel like you're playing League of Legends. It feels like you're playing Riftbound. It doesn't feel like you're playing League of Legends, the card game. And I think that's really important, because now it gives people a chance to be like, hey, I love Arcane. I love the concept of League of Legends. I stink at the card game. I stink at the video game, sorry. I don't really want to play a miniature-based game about League of Legends. I get to play this cool game that's really accessible with the League of Legends IP, and I'm digging it.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, Connor. There are definitely some elements in the game that make me feel like, okay, yeah, they've tied that to the video game, in that when you play cards, most of the time it's from your base, and then those minions move to a battlefield. So there's that element. But yeah, an interesting note is that the game is being published by a trading card game company called Universes, and they do have their own game that they produce. but this one was actually designed by Riot, and they chose that publisher to be the publisher for the game. But I can tell you, as someone who works for the distribution company that will supply this to Australia, Riot are very much involved in the marketing and stuff behind the scenes for this game. It's not just a thing they went, yeah, we made that, cool, hand it off to someone else and it's done kind of thing. They're very actively involved in trying to make this game a big success, which is kind of exciting because the video game, people have their opinions on whether they like it or not. I really like it. I've played it for many years, not for a long time, but I've enjoyed it a lot in the past. And they have produced board games like Mechs versus Minions, and they've done a few other small products in tabletop space as well. But this is pretty exciting. I, like Adrian, I'm going to be going in on this card game. I think it's really fun. It's probably not fair to say that it doesn't have some of the complexity and the messiness that Magic does, because Magic's been around for so long.
Yes.
But it also feels exciting to me because I'm starting from zero and everyone's starting from zero. We're all on the same playing field right now, and there isn't that massive pay-to-win element that Magic has. If you want to play in competitive scenes at this point in time, it'll probably head in that direction at some point, especially for people that join later on down the road. But I'm quite excited because it's launching very soon. Set 2 is already up for orders for stores, so they'll come early next year. So there's stuff happening in the works that I'm quite excited about. And yeah, it helps a lot that I do like the IP. Loved Arcane. It was a phenomenal show. So yeah, very excited for this.
I think it's definitely, like Connor said, it doesn't feel like a League of Legends game. Like, it feels like an Arcane game almost, because it is like you're not pushing lanes or anything like that. You are pushing into a base and defending it and all that kind of stuff, granted, but you haven't got to worry about having a mid, a left and a right, or a top, middle, or bottom. And you don't have to put specific heroes in mid to defend because they are more strategically viable there. You just have to just spread out the units to wherever you see fit. But I feel that with the next series of Arcane that's coming out, I think not next year, the year after, which isn't developed at the moment, I feel like having a card game that attaches to all of this stuff really helps. And also, we're going to see that Arcane show, right? Whatever it's called. I can't remember the title, the working title, but we're going to watch that. And I bet you about a month after, they release the next series of whatever it is that's attached to that version and that world that's all part of the Arcane and League of Legends, and then everyone will go gangbusters for it because they've just watched the show and they loved it and they want all the cards and they want to get all the stuff, So I feel that it could have legs to keep going where others may not have as much sort of IP backing and momentum.
There's so much room to play with in this trading card game, which is part of the reason I'm excited for it. Even just with the video game, if you're going to be into the collectability side of things, there's going to be all those alternate cards for the alternate skins that exist in the video game. Like, the more I think about it, I've thought, how come this wasn't done before? It just seems so obvious. It's such a good fit. There's so much content. There's so much lore and story and characters and, like I said, skins for alternate art cards and things
even
like that.
Items, even buy the items that you purchase in the game and stuff. I haven't played League of Legends myself, but I know it's very similar to Dota. And Dota's got like 240 items and 137 characters. So like when you start doing all these weird combos, because Finn's deck, his Jinx deck, has gear in it, and the gear is stuff that you can play out, and essentially it costs nothing. Well, you have to recycle one rune, and a rune is something that's a resource that you tap, whereas if you recycle a rune, it goes back into your deck and you'll draw it out again later. Whereas you put the gear out and you can just tap the gear. So then you have access to more resources potentially, because if you get more cards come out, you've always got this gear that sits in front of you that can be tapped and utilized. It's super interesting. Like it's really good. Like, I've been really impressed with the games. But okay, I suck and I don't mind. I'm not precious about it. But the fact that he comes around from school is like, we're going to play Riftbound? I'm like, yeah, we're going to play Riftbound. And I get stomped. But being the loser is great because you've only got room to grow. which is awesome. Yeah. That's my life story. And also, like, you can kind of see what he's doing. And then I remember some of his cards now because I'm getting punished consistently. I'm like, he's got one card in his hand. I bet it's the card. When I play a card, he controls my card, puts it in his base. So I'm no way in hell playing my 9, my big 9 dragon. I'm just going to play a bunch of rubbish out until he burns that card. Then I will play something bigger. Yeah, it's really good. The keywords are easy enough to understand. They make sense. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And there's been times where we haven't understood a card and we've been able to just look it up online and maybe watch like a 30-second clip of someone's video and go, oh, sweet. That makes sense. Like, you can't do this because it doesn't say, discard as many cards as you like to boost this character. It says discard 1 or more. And if you discard more, that's just to get rid of cards out of your hand or whatever. Yeah, it's really good. Like, thoroughly enjoyed it. I know a couple of people are looking into getting it. I know someone in Discord has already sort of spoken about buying it. Jonathan, sorry, but it's not my fault. It's definitely Finn's because I'm just happy to play it because he's happy to play it. But I am really interested to sort of have that experience of buying booster packs and creating my own deck.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really interested in doing that. Yeah, I've never done that. Like, I showed Meg's husband my Marvel cards, like my Fleer Marvel cards, and I have like 8 years worth of collected cards that are all in the sort of slide-in binders and all that kind of stuff. And I've never collected cards since I was a kid, and especially not ones where it's like they have abilities and they do things. These were just sort of art cards, essentially, kind of like basketball cards in a way. But yeah, I'm very interested to be like, oh my God, this card does this. I had no idea that there was a card that did this, and be really excited about that experience. So
yeah, I think one of the things I'm excited about for anyone that has played Magic or even hasn't and maybe has been interested in trading card games, I think one of the appeals for this game and the way it's been designed for me is that it is quite accessible. So with Magic the Gathering, it's so open and there's tens of thousands of cards out there that exist, and it's just so much. To build a deck is overwhelming. With Riftbound, it's really straightforward because you've got to start by choosing a legend, and that legend will have 2 colors, and then those are the only 2 colors that can go in your deck. It automatically locks out everything else. So it's really about picking a legend that you go, I like that character from the game, or I think that power is cool, and you just start building around it, and it tells you can only have these 2 colors. Now, there's going to be a ton of choice within those 2 colors how you build that deck, but you don't have to use all the other stuff that exists out there. So I think it's going to be a really accessible game for people that don't have a TCG background, that have an interest in the IP, which is really cool. But yeah, I'm expecting this game to be a big success. I've already pre-ordered a booster box. I'm going to be getting some of the decks. Expect to hear about this more, people. I'm
very interested as well to take Finn to a Riftbound event, like to an opening of whatever and something like that he can experience at a bit of a younger age, because I think it's something that he would really enjoy. Going to a space where everyone else is just playing that same game and everyone has the passion for something that he's passionate about. And to see, how that flourishes and see where he goes. But essentially, my deck, Jules was mentioning earlier about some of the domains that are in the deck. My deck is currently Body and Fury. So my character takes a while to get going and wind up, essentially. But once I get there, I can put out massively strong units that really Finn does struggle to deal with. Obviously not that much because I've lost so many times. No, he's kidding. However, there have been times where it's just one turn away from him just being absolutely dead. I would say that's happened 10 times where it's just like that one turn and he would have just been gone and would have not been able to stop me. So yeah, it's really cool. I definitely suggest, if no one's ever played it before, they do have like starter decks and they have a box. And the starter box is actually really competitive with the 4 heroes and the 4 decks. I think it's like $75 or something like that. Like,
it's called the Proving Grounds.
Yeah, and you get a bunch of heroes in it to start with, or legends essentially to start with, and you can even build your own decks from that because there's enough in it to sort of mix and match a little bit. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it's an absolute winner. Great design, very smooth. Yeah, wish them all the best with it, basically. So
very cool. That's Riftbound. All right, with the sizzles, we'll move on to some announcements and news. You know that game you've been wanting for a long, long time? The one that's been on your wish list for ages? Yeah, that one. The one you've been adding to your cart and taking off again, umming and ahhing about whether you should get it or not? Well, I'm here to push you over the edge and say go to adventgames.com and add that to your cart right now. I bet you that Dean has a great price on it. He's got great customer service, flat rate shipping, and there's so many other goodies to explore on the website. Wonderful categories all organised to pick the exact game that's right for you and the group that you play with. So head over now, don't hesitate, to adventgames.com.au and add that game to your cart now. All right, probably the most pressing news and most exciting news at this point is PlayCon tickets. So PlayCon is from the 3rd to the 5th of July next year at the ICC in Sydney, and the tickets go on sale November 6th. So this is very close around the corner to when you hear this episode, if you're listening to it close to
on the
release.
day of release. I think it's the next day. I think this comes out on the 4th. So
there you go.
Boy golly, have we had some announcements though? Everyone, Andrew Bosley, Cole Worley, Shem Phillips are all coming out. It's like the Avengers of board games. That's how I feel. It's amazing. It's such a cool thing. I hope everyone enjoys it. And yeah, I'm very excited to see those guys in Australia. So
I think we have Sam and Bobby to thank for dragging
100%.
Shem over. But also, you and Joe and MJ went over for WillyCon too. So clearly there's been...
We weren't that bad.
You weren't that bad. They must have been like, these Aussie guys aren't too bad. I'm so excited. I'm so excited, man. Andrew Bosley was the first guest I ever talked to on the show.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to actually meet him in person. And I got to talk to Cole as well. And Cole makes some of my favorite games and some of the games that I've been the most impressed with too. And of course, Shem with the Garfield stuff. Garfield's one of my favorite publishers. Really great relationship with all them. And Shem's probably heard me swear more than people outside of my family and you guys, let's be honest, because there's a few games I played and he snuck into the chat and I was just dropping F-bombs and told them how much I wanted to not be friends with them anymore. And he was just sitting there, just observing, making some adjustments. So, it's so exciting. And look, it's going to be so exciting. We're in a new venue, more space, more people are going to get to experience PlayCon, more games.
More Riftbound.
So more Riftbound. Is that going to be the next announcement, Jules? That we're going to be riots coming on board?
I'm sure we can swing something being there.
So 6th, get your ticket, get your 3-day passes because they are always the first to sell out. Let's see if we can not shut down the website this time. That would be nice. But sell as many tickets as we
preferable.
Can. Yeah.
And another thing as well, we have a new sort of design day thing that's been introduced that would have already all been announced by the time we release this episode. And essentially, Matt Dunstan and Phil Walker Harding are going to be running a design day for designers with some sort of workshop element involved. I don't know how that exactly looks at the moment, but we do have an expression of interest form on our website. You're very welcome to go on there and look at that and fill that out just so that we can track who's interested in this and what we're sort of able to sort of cater for.
One last little thing about PlayCon 2 before we move on to the other announcements. We can't run it without the volunteers, and we would love to have more people volunteer. So the volunteer process will be coming out very, very soon. If you're interested in volunteering for multiple days, one day, we would love to have you on board. I may be scary, but Dana is not. So make sure that you...
I think that's the other way around, bro. Sorry. 100%.
So yes, please, if you're interested, we'd love to have you come volunteer and get to don the yellow shirt.
In some very pressing and recent news and developments, I got that Mozzie. It's gone.
Right, okay.
I got him. Suck it.
They do.
Heard it here.
That's their job.
It's been a murder on the podcast.
Yeah.
Live.
All right. Well, speaking of volunteering, if you want to get your feet wet and experience volunteering at the events that we run, we've got a slew of game days coming up. So we've got Sydney on the 8th of November at the Castle Hill RSL. We've got on the 15th of November, Brisbane at Royal on the Park, and at Melbourne at the Gaming Arena in Coburg on the 22nd of November. Those are always super fun days. The tickets for all of those are on Eventbrite, so you can head to there, search Board Game Barbecue and buy your tickets there. Sydney is nearly sold out, so if you want to buy a ticket, now's the time. It will sell out. I'm going to be the broken record and say every time we hold this event, we have some people come and say, I didn't buy a ticket. Is there space? And we have to say no.
Every time I've been there, it's happened.
Yep.
So it's like,
if you are thinking about it, just get the ticket now.
Yep.
Pull out your phone and get it done.
Don't be that person who their friend has a ticket and they said, that's fine, I'll just buy one on the day, because that has happened in Melbourne too.
Yes.
Whose capacity is bigger. They've said, can my friend come in? And I've had to say no. Or I've had to quickly double check with someone and be like, hey, I know you're not in yet. Are you still coming? Like, oh, no, I'm sick. Let this other person buy my ticket. So you're bound by people's generosity or general illness if you don't buy your ticket now.
That's it. All right. Well, with all of that, let's move on to our question of the pod. All right, last episode's question, we'll do a recap. We had a ton of responses to this one, and it's obviously been a while because we had our PAX episode last time. But the question from the last episode we had one was, what game will you always go all in for? So we spoke about, I mentioned, if they release new planets for Unsettled, I'm buying them. I don't care what it is. If they release an expansion for Cloudspire, I'm all in. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Just any new release of something, I am all in for that game, no matter what. So we had quite a few responses. Connor, do you want to read off a couple of them? We'll start from the top.
I'll read some of the ones from Discord, and then AD can read out the rest. So I'll start with Satellite Nova, who says, I've found I'd rather go in for a particular artist than series. Sandra Tang's Cozy Games. Flamebound has been teased, and I tend to go all in for it. Then Satoshi Matsuri's games with Yield and Battle for Oshra upcoming. And I'll second Root, but I can't afford to go on everything Carl Ferrin has done. I cry with an I. Ruben, shout out to Ruben. Met Ruben at PAX. So great to meet you, Ruben, and play some games. I will go in on anything my wife loves, deluxifying expansions, that lot. She's my most common other person to play with, so those get the most traffic. A wise decision.
Makes sense.
Draven, and congratulations to Draven. Draven went across to Europe. I believe it was in Edinburgh, and played in the Netrunner Championship. So well done to you, Draven. And he says, a surprise to absolutely nobody, my answer is Netrunner. But also Spirit Island. Spirit Island has some great deluxe expansions you can grab. Manny says, nothing. Lies and slander, Manuel. I have more self-control than that. Okay, I lied. Has to be Marvel Crisis Protocol, a game I shudder to count my total spend for, and I've only played the game once.
Is that the one with all the minis and stuff? Oh my God.
That is the Marvel Miniatures game.
Yeah.
I mean, Manny's a great painter and he loves painting, but that is a lot of money, bro.
I would be major stones in glass houses and pot meets kettle if I made a comment on that. So bust a crack. Les Lucid says, innovation, my favorite game. Get a fair number of chances to play it because it doesn't take that long, and for what you get all ins for, it's not that expensive, so no regrets. Rainier says, that question sounds a little like, are you guilty? Well, yes. All in was quite a common approach, top on the most liked games are Scythe, including all kinds of upgrades, Too Many Bones, Metal Minis, So Cool, TFM, I guess Terraforming Mars, yep. Unsettled, Dead Reckoning, the wood box is really nice. Ankh, also wooden box, and the Zombie Side Iron Maiden packs. Lord of the Rings, Journey to Middle Earth, the trading card games of the TCG of Middle Earth, the Wizards, luckily out of print, and Root, War of the Rings Special Edition, and more. Well, what are the mores? Come on, Rainier. Don't leave us hanging. Jim says, there's a few. Marvel Legendary. The suitcases are getting so full from so many expenses. Yeah, I offloaded mine earlier. So Western Legends, Terraforming Mars, Ark Nova, although I'm not spending €500 for the 3D edition. And Unfair. I have all the theme decks in alphabetical order so far, but I'm going all in for them and a big box to store them all in. Yeah, I mean, I think that's sick. That game is so much fun with the different expansions, so I can get that. And then Norelish, so Norel, I'm getting worse for this in these later years of being a board gamer as my collection is now quite well-rounded. A lot of the games I get all in if I'm going to Kickstarter. It's going to be all in. Otherwise, I'll wait for retail, though. I'm a Kickstarter super backer, so obviously buy a fair bit. But on the discussion of the pod, what are games you automatically get? Marvel Legendary, when DC Legendary comes out shortly, that too. All Stonemaier games, and like Dana Banana, all merch shirts. Though they sold out of my size of the hoodie straight away, so I'm hoping they get that back in stock. So it's the Stonemaier stuff. All play small box games, Shem Phillips, Sam McDonald, and all Vital Lacerda games. Devere games were a hot spot, but I do check them out now first.
Just to clarify, that sounds like all games and stuff.
Yeah.
That's a big list.
Narelle did say it's getting worse. I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Yeah, 100%.
I think I can summarize her response. What is she all in for? The hobby.
Yeah. She's all in on the hobby. That's right. Yeah.
All in on the hobby.
So we had on Facebook, Michael Jansom Gibson say many chip theory games and anything Marvel Champions. So, I mean, they're pretty rare now, right? They're going to be a bit rarer because I think they stopped printing those. So
some of them they definitely have.
Yeah. Well, keep those close to you. We had on Instagram, Lofty Raven say KDM and the Old King's Crown. Is the Old King's Crown that new one?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, wow. Okay, cool. You Board Game Table is Raiders of the North Sea. And Rebecca328 said easy. Everdell always. So nice.
Is that Everdell base game? Is that also Silverfrost?
That's probably everything.
Yeah,
everything. All it means everything. I reckon it's someone that has all of the base game and everything, and then the collector's box.
Is it all the plushies that they're now releasing for it?
Yeah.
The blankets with the Everdell artwork.
I'd have the blanket. I love a blanket.
Is there an Everdell Woody? I want an Everdell Woody.
I don't think there's an Woody. But yeah, there's some Everdell Squishmallows. There was one at PAX you could buy, and there's more coming. They disappeared pretty fast.
And Gene Helix Road said, all in is my middle name. And I can vouch for that. That is 100% true. When I introduced him to Finn, I said, Finn, this is Gene. He's the guy that does all the dungeon crawler games. So if you have, because Finn's interested in playing a couple of the dungeon crawlers, I say, you got any questions? Ask this guy. So we're on the bit of a lookout for something that might replace the Elder Scrolls for us, because we played it a lot. And I'm just looking for something that might have a little bit more story. So that's why that conversation came up.
Very good. All right. So for our new question of the pod, we're going to go with the suggestion we've had from Felipe. And that is, what game rule have you been playing incorrectly? All right. I'm sure you guys have got a lot of them. So go for it.
I can tell you mine. I've got some that are ongoing because I haven't realized yet. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm probably still playing some games not 100% correct, and I've got no idea. So, yeah, I know one of them. One of them's really embarrassing.
Oh, here we go.
I'm really upset to talk about it. I really don't want to talk about it at all. I played Caesar Strife once after having a few beverages, and I thought it was fantastic. And then I went to teach it at the game day without reading the rules on remembering completely. And I taught it like you were trying to win tricks.
This game's easy. Why would you ever say?
I'm so sorry. I was. All I can say was like, yeah, I was not in the right headspace. Let's just say that. But yeah, that was one that I was,
because no one's ever going to play. Like, no one's ever going to try and load up on someone who's had to change the suit. Like,
yeah, I was definitely halfway through. I felt like this is really wrong. Like, I don't feel this is right. But I was not in the position to sort of reread the rules. Oh, I've played it all backwards. I'm really sorry. So anyone that was in that game, I really apologize. I know a couple of people in our community that were in that game. So
that's excellent. That's so good. Yeah, because that's not just like no, you're supposed to do that before you do this. That's like
that's playing the entire game backwards.
It's like if Monopoly you were to lose money. So you don't.
I've done that. There you go. That's definitely my biggest shame. But I'll try and think of some others while Connor does something that's probably less offensive than mine.
No, but more moronic. Like, I'll explain. So at PAX, we were playing Ito. So Ito is a great game where you put it on you have a scale of like 1 to 100, and it's like the most comfy thing, and you might get the number 90. So it's like the most comfy thing ever is like a warmed, like the cool side of the pillow, most comfy thing ever. Bang. So I'm going to put it there. And then people have to judge where their numbers fall. And I was like, because you don't know what numbers people have. And I was saying to the group, this reminds me of when we used to play the mind, but we used to play the numbers face down. So it's like,
goodness.
Yeah. I'm like, this game's impossible. How are you supposed to win this game? There's no way that you can win it. And then something came up and they were like, yeah, well, someone else was like, we got bored of the mine. I was like, how do you get bored? Like, we got bored of it because it was too hard to win. And then someone's like, we got bored of it, and it was just me and like my 2 close friends, and we wanted to see how much of a mental link we have. So we started playing it face down. I was like, isn't that how you play the game? And I went back and looked, and they're like, no, you play it face up. But apparently there is like an unofficial, or maybe it's even in the rule book that there's like, you can try and do this, but it's going to be so hard.
Yeah. So did you play all of the cards face down, then flip the deck and look at them and go, yep, nope. Oh, yeah. Wow, that exactly is hardcore.
Right. And then what would happen is, and even like using the shurikens, it would be such a guess, and you'd be like, oh, no one's gone for a bit. Let's take that card away, or like let's discard a card because I don't know where it's going to fall. Yeah, it was so silly. And now it's a great game, right? The Mind's very fun, and one of those games where it's like, great to play. Even better to play with people that you've maybe only just met that night, or you've met a couple of times before, and you kind of get a read of them. So yeah, the other one I remember, Kim called me out, and I reckon because I talked about it on the podcast. So Kim called me out because we were stockpiling event cards in Unfair. And Kim wrote on it. He's like, no, you can't do that. That would totally break the game. What do you like? Why would you even do that? And I was like, well, I don't know. Don't ask me why I do things, Kim. Like I just do. Like, don't ask why I do stupid things. So yeah, that's probably my 2.
What's the bet at the end of this? Jules is like, at the end of the round, you got 2 resources instead of 1 resource, and that was the rule. Whereas ours are really bad. Ours are terrible.
I'm honestly trying to rack my brain. I can't think of a game I've played completely wrong. It's like you said, I mixed up should have done that step before that step, but it hasn't greatly changed things. I can't think of a game where I was playing fundamentally wrong.
Our 2 are definitely fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
To its core.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of rules I've messed up with, like forgetting to add 1 resource when you do this, or like I said, done step C before B, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, there's honestly nothing that comes to mind where I'm like, no, that game was completely wrong. So I don't know. Maybe
I'll ask you another question then. Are those official Jelly Belly beans behind you, or are they an imitation Jelly Belly bean?
No, they're official.
Wow. That's a lot of Jelly Belly beans.
Yeah, they're not mine though.
They should be.
Oh dear. All right. Well, we'd love to hear what you, the community, have to say. Again, the question for this episode is, which game rule have you been playing incorrectly? It'll be funny to see if there's a comment and then someone says, no, that's still incorrect.
Yeah. That will happen.
I'm sure it will.
Or it's like, what? You're not supposed to play it that way. Oh my God. So like, did someone else have done the same thing? Yeah.
Yes, rules be hard. All right, you can answer that question on Discord, Facebook, Instagram, X, all the places that we are. So head on over when you get to see that question up online. All right, before we get to our final segment of the podcast, we want to give a shout out to 2 brand new Patreons, Helix Rhodes and Lachlan Albert. Thank you so much to both of you joining the Patreon community. That support means everything to us. And if you're looking to support the podcast, you can follow these fine people's example and sign up to Patreon, where you get special access to exclusive episodes and other content. We organize meetups before PlayCon and PAX and other events as well. But if you can't support through Patreon, that's totally okay. The best thing, honestly, is just tell your mates about the podcast. Share what you've been listening to. It really, really helps us out. You can go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify to leave ratings and getting involved in the community as well on Facebook, X, Instagram, even YouTube, where we upload the episodes weekly. And Discord is probably the best place, where we're always talking about games and other hobbies as well, which is really, really good. All the links to those places to get involved and to support are in the show notes. All right, final segment. It's time to be fired up. I'm going to start us off because I've got quite a few things. First of all, since last episode I've been on, I've had a game I've been very excited to play, and it has arrived, which is March of the Ants. Very, very keen to get my copy onto the table. Super, super excited. We've already talked about Riftbound, but I'm just excited for it to launch. I'm excited to get the cards, build some decks, go somewhere and play the game, either a local store or people at work. I'll find out how I'm going to get my teeth sunk into that. But also, at the moment of recording, Essen is starting to wrap up, and there's a game that I've had my eye on because it was announced ages ago, but we finally have heaps more details. Models have been released. Terrain is there to see now, and it's a StarCraft miniatures game. StarCraft is like a childhood core memory for me growing up. The first time I ever played it was actually the version that's on the N64.
Oh no, you didn't play that one. Oh,
I did, yes.
God, I still remember that at my friend's house, and it was butt. That was so bad.
I thought it was the coolest thing. I loved playing the campaign on it. It was so cool. Yeah. It was my grandpa had an N64, and StarCraft was just the coolest thing.
Your grandpa had an N64?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, my grandpa had an N64. He got an Xbox 360. Yeah.
I don't have kids, so I don't think I'll ever be a grandpa. But if I was going to be a grandpa, that's the type of grandpa I'd want to be. That's the type of grandpa
you're going to be that kind of an uncle. Like, you'll be an uncle, and you'll be like, "Oh, my uncle's got like a million consoles."
Uncle's a bit different to a grandpa. Like,
no, it was my grandpa. My grandpa is very. Oh, look, as a young child, he's a lot older now, but he was very tech savvy, very smart man. But yeah, he had consoles. He played video games, which is life goals there. So, and yeah, I then played it on PC years later when I was able to play the game better, but love StarCraft. Yeah. There's a miniatures game for it now, which looks super cool. I don't know if I'll get into it, but certainly I'll pick up some miniatures I love and paint them at some point. So very excited for that.
The difference of playing it on an N64 to a PC is so different, man. Like, oh my Lord. That would have been the worst port in the world.
Even playing it on console these days, like if it was out like on PlayStation 5 or Xbox 360,
it would be horrific.
It'd still be bad. Like let alone in 64.
Yeah. My memories of it is because you can't micromanage on the N64 because you got to drag the box and then move the screen and then click where you want them to go. The strategy was almost just build heaps of units, wait for them to send the wave. Hopefully you've survived, and then just highlight everything and send it to the base and watch carnage ensue.
Those were dark times for you, friend.
I didn't know any better as a kid.
That's true.
Yeah. Adrian.
For me, when this comes out a few days after, I will be becoming a citizen of this country. I will be an Australian citizen. So
Finally.
I'm really excited about that. It's a massive honor. I absolutely love Australia. It's amazing. I'm so blessed to be able to live here and call it my home. Surrounded by friends and amazing people that I didn't even know 5 years ago. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Feel so settled and at home here now. So it's great.
It's good to have you be one of us.
That's it. And then Riftbound is also on my list of things. Super keen to get more of that. I've actually downloaded the TTS mod because there's a TTS mod. Whether it's legit or not, I don't know, but I have seen people streaming and using it. So I will be going on there and just looking at some of the cards just to get an idea of what some of them do, because I have zero clue and I've never played a game like this. So it'd be like to have some knowledge about what I might be potentially looking for in those decks. Other than that, just looking forward to the game day. It will be great. Hanging out, seeing everybody, that kind of stuff, really. Yeah, that's me.
Very cool. Connor, you fired up about anything?
You stole mine. I had March of the Ants. I'm pretty sure you actually took it out of my box.
No, he cut it and pasted it out.
I actually wrote March of the Ants, and I was like, yeah, March of the Ants. So yeah, I'm excited too for that. But I feel like now I've doubled up. And the game days I'm excited for too. Yeah, just stuff. It'd be cool.
There we go.
Comes.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for the chat. Lots of games talked about. To Purchase Pen didn't come out, except the wallet's open for Riftbound right now. Yeah. So,
I have one more thing that I'm kind of fired up about as well. Actually, a listener sent us in a card game for all of us. It's called Ecologies, and I haven't really looked at it too much, other than it's got a massive collector's edition box set with different biomes and stuff on it. I think it could be a library thing or maybe a museum game. I'm not sure. I could just be speculating, but it came in this lovely box and it's all Victorian art. I like biological stuff. I grow a lot of my own plants and, veg and herbs and coffee berries. And all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Berries and that. So yeah. Super keen to just sort of have a look at it. And I think because Lauren and Dan will be here for the game day and that, I think hopefully we can try and play at the game day. That will be the plan.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We hope you've had an entertaining and hopefully not too much of a dangerous time talking about TCGs. But until then, play some more games and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Illustrious.